Hello, and welcome to the Career Change Diaries podcast with me, Alice Stapleton. And today I'm really pleased to be speaking to Ludmila Fadejeva, who I know as Ludi. So I'm going to refer to her as Ludi as we're chatting. So I know Ludi through tennis, actually. We played a bit of tennis together. So it's really lovely to see her because she actually left my tennis club to have a baby. So really great to see you, Ludi. How are you doing?
Well, thank you, Alice. Great to see you too.
Yeah, probably a bit tired, I imagine.
Every day.
Not hard with not easy with little ones, that's for sure. So Ludi was previously a civil engineer. She did 5 years of studying, achieving a master's degree, and worked for 8 years on wet infrastructure projects in Europe and Middle East. And I had to ask Ludi what wet meant because I had no idea. So really interesting to hear more about that. But 12 years ago, she made a pivot to software sales. So today she is a strategic global account executive serving the United Nations ecosystem with a major SaaS company. And I also had to ask what SaaS stood for as well. So now I know it means software as a service. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. Tech is not my forte. So yeah, be good to hear a bit more. So first of all, tell me a little bit about how on earth you got into civil engineering. How did that all come about?
Well, I got bribed. My mother. Yes, yes, exactly. My mother. She has a civil engineering company. She still runs it. She's 74, but she's about to exit. She's old. She's thinking of retiring. But when I was in school, she always wanted me to take over the business. So I kind of didn't have a choice. So I was pushed to go to study civil engineering. However, I didn't want to do it. So my mom promised me if I enter civil engineering studies, I will get a car, which I got.
She wasn't messing around.
Yeah, so I got a old Vauxhall Corsa. Yeah, it's the day I went into uni. So I was one of 3 people in the whole year. It was 2004, right? So who was driving a car? I felt very good about it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, how funny that's how you got into it. So, I mean, was there any interest in it? I mean, there must have been a little bit for you to go.
Not really, because growing up, I saw my mom doing the job. Obviously, she was running her own business, but it was full on. She would leave 6 a.m. Some days when it was a season, she would come back 8, 9 p.m. because there was so much happening, so much work. Construction is not easy. So they would do the actual job, right? So they would build things in the ground, and there are always deadlines. So I saw it as a very stressful and maybe not something I would like to do career, but well, I really wanted a car.
Priorities at that point, right? So in your bio, you said it took 5 years of studying to get into that?
Yes. So I studied back home in Latvia, and we had a system where you do 4 years to get a basic engineer's degree, which is similar to kind of a fancy bachelor's, probably, because there was a 3-year bachelor's or a 4-year engineer. But with a 3-year bachelor, you couldn't get chartered in Latvia because like getting education in engineering is one thing, but getting your license is another thing, right? So there are layers on top. So yes, I opted to do a 4-year engineering degree and then a 1-year master's on top of it.
Right. And how did you find that? Did you get on with it?
It was quite easy. I think I was always good at math. Math was my strong point. So studying engineering, It wasn't very difficult. Obviously, there were challenges. Some subjects were more complex than others, but overall, I think I did well.
Yeah. And so, yeah, a lot of maths and physics as well, I assume.
I specialized in infrastructure, so it was more around thermodynamics, hydraulics, which are kind of subsets of physics, but which specialize in water, how water behaves, or heat systems, say heating systems, or and how they behave.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, the reason I say heating systems in up north, say Latvia or Finland and in those countries, we have central heating. So there are big heating pipes which run underground in the cities. So it's not like in UK where individual houses have their own boiler. You would be connected to the city heating system.
Oh, right. That's interesting. And yeah, so I had to ask you at the start what wet infrastructure meant. So yeah, tell us again so that everyone else understands what that means.
So infrastructure is what's located outside, right? So the roads you use are infrastructure, the electricity which is provided to your house by the grid is infrastructure. Wet infrastructure has to do with water. So the water supply which goes into the house, and it covers all the way from taking the water from the source, treating waters and distributing water, and then providing it to the consumer, to be it a private house, a factory, a school, hospital, etc. And the other side of it is collecting the wastewater, which comes from all the different outlets, and then goes into the system, pumped into the treatment work, treated and released back to the river. As well, wet infrastructure includes rainwater management. So when you have puddles on the roads or any already flooding on the road, it's because the wet infrastructure or rainwater infrastructure is failing. So that includes as well, and as well river flood management.
Yeah. Oh, I need to get you down to my road. My road's always flooding, and there's this bit in our town that always floods. And yeah, it makes me realise that, yeah, that's somebody's job to sort that all out. I mean, I imagine it's quite interesting that it's all so relevant, right? It's all, everyday life, and it's, it's quite meaningful, I imagine, that you're actually dealing with the way that people live their lives and what they do and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One perk of it, perhaps. So you do your studying. What then happened after that?
Throughout my study, we had 6 months dedicated for internship. So I started looking for that quite early, and I managed to secure internship with a British engineering consulting firm. And yeah, I went to Scotland for 8 months and helped to build some treatment works, wastewater treatment works in there over that time. And so yeah, I stayed employed with them. So as I graduated, so they employed me, and I stayed with them, and I did all my 8 years of experience after the university with that company.
Right. And then it was with them that you went to the
Middle East. Yes. So I worked with them in Latvia, in UK, and in Middle East.
Well, I imagine there was a lot going on in the Middle East, if that was...
Yeah.
When, just like looking at the time frame, that must have been when all, like Dubai was booming and Abu Dhabi.
Absolutely. I'm sure if people who will be listening to this ever been to Dubai, they have benefited from the infrastructure I touched.
Yeah, well, I went there for half term, so yeah, I benefited, that's for sure. So talk me through some of the niggles and doubts that started then about that career that made you start to think a change might be needed.
Well, I think from the beginning, the choice perhaps was not right to go into civil engineering, but it was an easy choice, right? And I had everything laid out in front of me. So I would say it was easy for me to do it, but it was not me. As I was going through the job, I started to realize, and I started to kind of almost dread going in on Monday, or in Dubai it was Sunday, right? So then when you go back to work, because engineering is a lot about iteration. So the way things are built, you're like, okay, let's build a house, right? Or let's build a pipe, and you will get a version of it. And then other people will look at it and say, no, this one fits, this doesn't work, change. And then you change, and then you change again, and then you change again. And it could be months and months and months. You can be working on the same thing and changing it 5 centimeters up, 3 centimeters down, 2 centimeters up, 7 centimeters down. Let's move the pumping station half a meter right, 7 meters left. And so it's all about iteration, because to build a city or to build an infrastructure, it takes a lot of people, because there is a road on top, there is a gas pipe somewhere, there is an electricity cable somewhere, there is a fiber somewhere, there are all the other things which need to coexist in a very narrow space. So it's a lot of iteration. And I think it becomes very daunting when every time you come in and everything being like scrapped and you need to redo it again. And then you need to redo it again and redo it again.
Oh God, that would just do my head in. That would absolutely do my head in. Yeah.
Yes. And for every time you redo something, you need to recalculate it, revalidate it, reapprove it. So it's not just you change your drawing, which then gonna go to construction. So there is a whole process before to make sure it's safe. Because engineering, by the end of the day, and the reason you study so many years and the reason you need to get your professional license is to make sure no one dies in a result of what you build, right? So it's a very iterative process, and I think I'm not patient enough for it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've got to have a huge amount of patience and a real passion for the detail, by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
To actually find that 3 centimeters important, I'd probably just be like, wow, what's that matter? Only 3 centimeters. It probably matters quite a lot. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that all just started to grate a little bit by the sounds of it. Were there any other doubts that you had about the job, or was it mainly that side of things?
The other, let's say, disadvantage of engineering career, which I saw, it's very structured. You start from, let's say, a graduate engineer, and then you become an assistant engineer, and then you become an engineer, and then you become a senior engineer, and then you become a principal engineer. And it goes and goes and goes and goes. And it's very tied to the salary bands are tied to where you are. So the graduate engineers, there is a floor and a ceiling. No matter how great you are, this is where your constraint is. And then the next goes, and it's a slight increments. So to actually make, let's say, significant amount of money or to project how you're going to live, you really need to climb that ladder, and it's not that easy. It's a quiet, as I say, prescribed career path, and you can't pivot much in there.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I suppose for some people that's really appealing, right? You know, I certainly have a few clients where they'd love the sound of that there's that sort of structured path, that they know where they're going and what they need to do. But it's always just so interesting that what works for some people is just somebody else's worst nightmare, right? It's like, oh my God. Yeah, so it sounds like for you that felt just a bit constraining.
Yeah, I felt like my whole life for the next 30 years is prescribed. I have almost no control. So there were some let's say, options. You could go into project management, or you could go into site where you actually supervise the construction, or you maybe go a little bit into people who write proposals. But still, within all those kind of lanes, the structure was very, very much prescribed.
Okay. So there's that going on. There's the how tricky it can be, the patience required to manage all the moving parts. Was there anything else that you found tricky about that career, or was that the main things?
Deadlines.
Deadlines.
That's another one. Yes, in civil engineering, everything costs money to build, especially when you're building a big infrastructure. The client will have a budget, and the longer you design, the longer the people who are on site, on the ground, are sitting and doing nothing and burning money. So there is a lot of pressure as well to deliver certain things on time. But anyone who did any sort of renovation, starting from a small bathroom to, I don't know, maybe extension or whatever it is, knows it never goes to plan. It never goes to plan. It's always over budget, over time, and it's literally never goes to plan. So when you build something big, it's the same, but just the magnitude of the problem is bigger.
Yeah. I used to live on the development where the Crossrail station was in Woolwich. And that's just a prime example of how, they had grand plans of when that would open, and it just kept pushed back. My dad lives near the HS2 site in the Midlands. And that's just crazy how long that's going on for. And so I've certainly seen evidence of
for major infrastructure, nationwide, it's not a surprise if a project is delayed by decades.
Really?
Yeah, I think Elizabeth Line was like 10 years or something like that.
I don't know why they bother putting a date on it then. They might as well just...
Because they budget for, if everything was to go smooth, this is where we're going to be, this is how much money we're going to spend. But the minute you start digging the ground, you find something which no one knew existed in there. And what happens at that point, all the drawings go back to the office where people like me were sitting, and we need to find a solution how to go around wherever they found. And
well, in London, there's like mass graves and artifacts and God knows what that they come across, I suppose. Okay, so I mean, you did it for a while. So what was it that you did enjoy about it? What kept you going for those 8 years?
Well, I think giving something up is a big decision, because this is something you have, this is something you worked on, this is something I spent 5 years studying. I was preparing to get my chartered engineer status as well. And kind of a lot of work, my time, sweat, and tears went into it. And the realization of, dropping it all and starting something brand new, it was just dreadful. It was difficult. But I think the pivotal point was actually the chartered engineering path. Like everyone, all of my peers started to get chartered one by one. And it was so complex. You need to do your initial, development, and there are years, there are certain things you need to take to kind of complete that, and then you need to write your project, and there is like a huge essay, 5,000 words with you explaining everything, and then you go for an interview where they're gonna drill on you down like how good you are for over an hour, asking you all those questions. And I kind of prepared everything. I had the only interview left. So I needed to book my interview. So I had all my development done. I had my projects signed off. I had my essay report written. I just needed to book the interview and actually go and do it to get my chartered. And this is where it hit me like, do I really want to do it for the next 30 years? I was 29-ish, 30 years old when I did the change. Mm. And yeah, so I really started to ask myself, is it what I want to do for the next 30 years? And the longer I asked, so I kind of delayed booking the interview and delayed. And I just felt, no, I really don't want to do it for the next 30 years.
Mm. And how did that sit with you at that point?
Well, I was a little bit jealous of my peers who already got their chartered status. But in engineering consulting or in engineering in general, without it, you can't go higher. There is a ceiling, right? So you are not a full engineer unless you're a chartered engineer. And yeah, so I was like, I really need to do it, but then I really don't want to do it. So I almost like had this feeling in my tummy, like of being sick, of thinking even to going to that interview. So it was almost physical. So yeah, I never did, to be honest. I never went for it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it was quite a pivotal moment. Well, and I suppose an interview where you have to sit down and explain everything to somebody is quite a kind of challenging thing to go through if your heart's just not in it. So you probably just wanted to avoid that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that hits you like a truck by the sounds of it. You're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. So how did you go about starting to explore what you did want to do instead?
I had no clue what I wanted to do because I knew what I don't want to do, but I had no idea what I wanted to do because I never did anything else. So first thing, what I did, I started to try on different roles in engineering, right? So I would go to people in my team who were doing something else and ask them, oh, what is your job about? What do you do? How does your day look like? Right? So I did a lot of those things. I got as well myself a mentor internally, kind of to try to maybe overcome my not willingness of, going through engineering path. But none of it actually, ticked. So whoever I would speak with, I would still see the constraints. I would still see a lot of struggle. I would still see them in a box of that whole engineering career, be it the commercial side of it, be it the project management side of it, be it the construction. It's still the same deadlines, head-on deadlines, change, deadlines, change. So it's the same grind, just slightly different. And then actually it's an anecdote how I came to software. I was not planning on it. I had no idea this career path even existed. I had a colleague, his name was Mohammed and still is Mohammed. He was sitting opposite me. So our desks were like that and the barrier was so we could see each other's face every single day. Yeah. So we would chat, we would banter every single day. And in engineering, there are a lot of tools you use to create things. And I worked for a big company. We had a range of tools, so you could choose the tool you prefer, right? So some people maybe like, I don't know, Microsoft Word, and some people like Google Pages or Google Sheets or Excel and Google Sheets. So we had the freedom to use whichever tool we like, unless the customer specifies they want a specific tool. So that could happen as well. So Mohammed was using tool A, I was using tool B. And we would always have a conversation, almost like a healthy argument, which tool is better. Because he was trained through his studies in tool A, and I was trained in my university through my studies in tool B. Yeah. Right? And we would always argue which tool is better. And then one day he was struggling with something and he's like, why can't this software do X? And I was like, well, my tool can actually do it. And he looked at me and he told me, Ludi, why don't you go and sell it then? And I was like, actually, such a brilliant idea. And so
funny. There was just a light bulb for you by the sound.
Yes. And that was it. And I was like, oh, maybe actually I can sell engineering tools. And so I went on the website of all the different tools which we were using day to day, which I knew about. And I started to look for career section and positions, who they are hiring, who they are looking for. And I started applying, and none of them kind of replied. But then I knew one guy from one particular vendor who came to do training for us. And so I messaged him on LinkedIn saying like, hi, Peter, I can see you have an opening. You think I would fit? And Peter replied, I think you would be brilliant. And this is how it started. So yeah, I took the interviews, I got the job, and I moved.
Oh, that's such a good story. Oh, I'm so glad that we're doing this. Good for Mohammed, hey? Imagine if he'd never said that. I wonder what he'd be doing if he'd never said that phrase.
I don't know, but thank you, Mohammed.
Yeah. Well, and Peter, by the sounds of it. So it just so happened that you had a connection with the company that was hiring.
Yes, just that year, a few months before, we had a person come out of UK to Dubai to give our team a training because every software package, every tool, they do development and new features come out and new things happen. And so kind of to keep team up to speed every few years, engineering companies, we do training, right? So you are up to date with how to save time, how to do things faster. Because don't get me wrong, Alice, the engineering laws don't change, right? The water still flows downhill. All of that is still there. It's more about how to use the tool better to make your job easier, right? So all those kind of new tips and hints and what they created inside the tool, which can help. So they would come and train us on it.
And you just stayed in touch with them through.
Yeah. So Peter was really nice, yes, and we all, because it was a small team of us, 10 people who were taking a training with him.
And so that was a sales role that you were applying for, was it?
To be honest, I had no idea.
Just like, get me through the door. I don't care what I have to do. Just get me through the door.
It was something called technical sales product manager, right? It had a sales in it. So I understood I need to sell something. I had no clue how to sell, how it happens, what happens. I knew how to use the tools. I knew a lot about civil engineering, and I knew what engineers were looking for because I was one. But the sales bit was a big unknown box, which I never opened, and I had no clue. So when I was preparing for the interview, they gave me a brief, and there were all those new words. Like, you got a lead. And I was like, what is a lead? Is it like a metal cable? I had no
on a dog lead.
I had no clue. So I needed to ask Peter a lot of questions about like, oh, Peter, what do they mean? To help me prepare. But, Peter helped. Thank you, Peter. And I actually passed. I passed the interview, and I got the job.
And did they ever say anything about your lack of sales experience, or did they just sort of feel, well, that's something you train somebody in anyway? Or
the company, because they were catering engineers, the company had like the CEO at the time, he had this saying which he kept repeating: an engineer who could sell is worth $1 million. So, and a lot of people who worked there had engineering background, had done engineering themselves before. So I was not the first one to come through the door with zero sales experience, but a lot of engineering experience. Because of the nature of the products and clients we were having, you must have that engineering experience. Otherwise, you won't be respected, or no one will take you seriously in the engineering world. If you don't speak the lingo, you don't understand their problem. So I think for them, it was like, okay, we will take you and we will teach you what needs. And if not, they probably would get rid of me if I was a failure.
Well, and you're so good with people, like your communication and your rapport building. I imagine that was a huge benefit when you're getting into something new, and they could probably see that. So it's quite an interesting step then, isn't it? It was obviously quite a big change for you, but the fact that you were an engineer and you were moving into a company that, you used that tool. So I do sometimes say to clients that's a really interesting path to pursue. Where do you have credibility? Who were the suppliers and the clients that you had in your previous profession, and how might you transfer your skill set into something new, but with that credibility, which is obviously what you did. Fascinating. So that was 15 years ago.
12.
12. Okay. And how did you find those first couple of years doing something new?
Terrible. It was a small software house which I joined. Got like first week, I think, or first 2 weeks, I got a product training, because the product I actually ended up selling was not the product I used. I never used the product which they gave me. I didn't understand that neither throughout the interview, to be honest. But that's how it is. So I got a product training first. So some people came out of US, trained me on a product. They were similar, just doing slightly different things. So that was all fine. And then I was given a spreadsheet with 600 email addresses and phone numbers and names, and said, okay, this is your leads, call. And I was given a phone and say, call, book your demos.
That would put you into a cold sweat.
I was in a cold sweat, Alice. I was in a cold sweat. I've never done outbound before in my life. I didn't like speaking to people on the phone. I still really don't. But I needed to overcome that, because I moved myself and my family across the globe from Dubai, where we had everything set. I had a tax-free, salary, and everything was good. Like the child was in a private school and all of that. To UK, where I took over, like my earnings went down, I think 60%. So,
right.
Over 6, I think my basic salary in that new job at the time was like £2,000. That's what I would get in my pocket, which I needed to cover rent, food, everything. So I couldn't even buy a car in the first year, because there was no money. So obviously my partner at the time was working as well, which helped, but the drop in income was massive. So I needed to make it work, because there was all this promise. If I start getting sales, I will start getting commission. And commission is uncapped, right? You can earn as much as you sell. There is no ceiling. But so I would go down in the meeting room, take the phone and like, Ludi, why are you here? And then say, hi, hello, is this Alice? This is Ludmila calling from...
Do you want some software? Do you watch Friends? Do you ever watch Friends on TV?
Yes, I did.
When Phoebe does the telesales job.
Terrible. Terrible.
So what kept you going? I mean, you must have been having thoughts around, like you say, oh my God, what have I done? So what kept you going?
Well, Alice, I had no choice. I threw away my career of civil engineer, right? So I quit. I quit my sweet, warm spot in Middle East with no tax, with a lovely path, climbing the ladder for something new, which I felt I would be good at. So I'm like, okay, you took a decision, so now you need to stick to it. Dig yourself in, start making your small idea and a whole bigger, right? To create a foundation for something. Yeah. And that was it. So I kept calling. So I got my first demo. I showed my software. I think it was terrible. However, everyone told, oh, it was great, but I'm sure it was terrible. So, and, 1 demo, 2 demos, 3 demos, 5 demos, 8 months later, I made my first sale. So that was a huge achievement. I never sold anything in my life before. And I made my first sale. I earned my first commission after 8 months. And then it started, one by one, slowly. And a couple of years in, one of the senior account executive in that small company left. And I got offered a role to replace him, and he had more products and he had bigger customers, bigger clients. So, and then it all just started to roll.
Yeah, probably because you had that natural talent. And I mean, how does it feel to suck at something to start with? Because I'm pretty sure that's the key. That's the key for a lot of people, is they find that idea of being bad at something to start with really tough. So how did that feel, and how did you not walk away at that point, in that first 8 months?
Well, I definitely cried a few times, but I don't know. I just knew I need to stick with it and things will happen. And as well, when you get into that environment of a sales team, right? It doesn't matter if it's software sales or whichever sales. I think it's very much the same. There is a lot of competitive alpha type driven people. They all want to achieve. Every time someone gets a sale, we had a small room, they will jump up and say, hey, I just sold this much. And you get pumped with it as well. You're like, I want that. I want to be the one jumping up saying I sold something. Every month, so we had a monthly target. Every month we would achieve. So there was a budget and then there was a target. So we would achieve budget. We would get I don't remember now, but I think when we achieved budget, we would get Nandas for the whole company. The whole company was like 30 people. So once we achieve something, everyone will get a perk. And then once we achieve the target, everyone would get a small bonus as well. Obviously, salespeople will get commission, but everyone else gets a small kind of monetary bonus. So everyone was motivated to help. People from other departments will come on the last few days of the month and say, what can I do? They could see on a board, there were numbers on a board that, we lack, I don't know, 20,000 pounds to make the bonus, right? So they were like, do you want, I can call someone, do you want a follow up? Everyone would chip in. And you kind of become a part of this engine suddenly. And you're like, I need to chip in. I need to pull my part. I need to bring in money. I need to do. So you just get sucked in, and I think you have no choice. You have no choice. And
well, it sounds like it's a bit of a buzz, and it must be great to be part of a team like that, where you're all working towards the same targets.
Yeah, there is another side of it as well, where your manager asks, where are the sales? Why there is still a big fat zero on your balance sheet? So there is a pressure as well. Some people quit. Some people change into sales. And I know people who changed into sales. And after 3 months, they told, I can't.
Yeah. But at least they've tried. If it was something they wanted to try, then you just don't know, do you? Until you try it. It's either for you or it isn't. And if it's not, then move on. But at least you've learned something, and it will be, whatever data you've gathered will be helpful for the next decision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you can't really quit something in a few months because you didn't have enough exposure or enough training or enough.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Trying.
It took you 8 months for that first sale.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of perseverance to stick with that. So when you reflect back on that period now, what are your thoughts?
I'm very happy. I think it was the best decision of my life. I did.
Yeah.
I look back and I am extremely happy and grateful to Mohammed, to Peter, to everyone who actually helped me with this transition. That I did it. because now I have a whole different career. I'm not in engineering anymore. It took me a while and a lot of steps to get out of engineering, right? So I changed companies multiple times and I changed verticals. But now actually I'm doing something I really, really, really enjoy. And I don't dread my Mondays. I love my work.
Well, that's really good. And that's so nice to hear. And it makes it all worth it, right? Those first few years are obviously quite challenging, and the tears and the doubts. So talk me through briefly some of the transitions that you've made. So you said you've moved companies, and what did you say about verticals? What are verticals? I don't know what verticals are.
Well, I joined the company which tools I have used before. Right? So I stayed with them for 5 years, climbed through the ranks. Then I got recruited by a competitor of theirs, a bigger company, which has other sets of tools, but some small portion is a competition. So I thought, okay, I did 5 years. It's all great. I'm going to now go and try to work for the competitor. So, and because competitor, it was a much bigger company with many more tools. My reasoning was I will expand my portfolio of verticals is basically the, let's say, utilities like water companies, right? Energy companies. This is like one vertical, right? But say banks, right? The HSBC, Co Bank, Coventry Building Society is another vertical. It's finance. And then you will have, say, insurance companies. It's another vertical. And then you have, say, car manufacturers. It's another vertical. So every single vertical requires different tools, different things. So some tools are same for everyone. For instance, you have office tools, right? Like Word, Excel, or like Google Sheets, Google Pages, all of that. But some tools are very specific to the vertical, right? So I started my sales career in a very niche, right? So wet infrastructure tools for flood modeling, river modeling, pipe modeling. Then I moved into another company and I did asset management. So still within engineering, but the customers I would sell to expand it from only engineering consulting firms and maybe local councils into owners, operators. So people like Thames Water, people like Northumbrian Water, people like Veolia, people like Network Rail, right? Who own infrastructure and operate infrastructure. Because asset management is basically, if you look at your house, what do I have? I have a door. How many of those do I have? What conditions are they in? Does it require maintenance? So it's all kind of the record about all the physical things a company owns. And a great example is Network Rail, right? They're owner operator. They're not necessarily operator, but they're the owner of the infrastructure for the rail, right? They have on their record how many rail tracks, how many bolts, how many nuggets, every station, right? How many door handles there are, how many bulbs, and all of that. So this is again done with a lot of help from software side, where everything is recorded. Everything, so they do inspections where people go take pictures or test, they maybe, hammer on a nugget and check if like the sound is good or whatever it is, right? And then they record it. Then whichever fails maybe or is questionable goes into maybe replacement pipeline or maintenance pipeline and so on and so forth. So for example, in your village where you have flooding all the time, maybe there are some gullies, so these little holes in the ground where the rainwater goes, which probably gets blocked. And so they're not doing a very good job about asset management of that particular unit to make sure it's cleaned regularly to prevent blockage. I went to asset management, and then from asset management, I went into, currently I work with a company called Salesforce. So again, I got recruited to cover originally utilities, which is water, waste, energy, and sell them integration software. So it has nothing to do with wet infrastructure. It's to do with IT. It's an IT package for IT people, but just who happen to be in the kind of utility space.
Yeah, and they're a big company, right?
Yes.
Compared to Salesforce.
Yeah, and then within Salesforce, after a few years doing utilities, I went and now I joined a team which caters United Nations. So I work with United Nations ecosystem globally with my colleagues. And so we cover their need, which is completely disconnected from civil engineering.
Yeah. Well, what a path. So do you find the clients you work with at the UN, are they the same people that you speak to quite regularly now, or are you talking to lots of different people all the time?
I'm talking to lots of different people all the time. I'm talking a lot to IT people who, let's say, maintain different tools for the organization, right? So who kind of cater for the back end, right? To make sure things work. There are certain tools available for people who are on the ground, for people who are in the offices, for people who do the money collections, etc., etc. I still need to speak. So I speak a lot to kind of C-level and director level guys, but as well, I do need to speak to techies, but techies not from engineering, civil engineering, but techies from kind of IT, right? Who connect data sets. And so there is still a bit of engineering going on, but a different type, which I'm not as profession in. But there is a lot of help in my current employers. There is a lot of help. So they are not very much concerned that I don't have an IT background. It's more at this stage of my career. I think it's more about your people skills and how good you are to understand the problem of a customer and how good you are to then translate the problem into the tools your company has to offer. Yeah. And then, as a solution. So it's a lot about understanding what they struggle with, kind of peeling the onion layer by layer and then matching it with your offering. And then involving all the people around in my company to help the customer to see that vision and walk them through and explain to them, and then probably show them how this can be delivered, what stages, etc., etc. And my job is mainly relationship building. And commercial conversations, right? So when it comes to money, how much someone gonna pay for X, it's my job, right? To handle all the money conversations. My job is in general to keep the relationship going and then pull people in at different stages. If they have a firefighter, I take a firefighter, I give them a firefighter and say, help them to put the fire down. If they're building a house and they need help from an architect, obviously I'm doing analogies, right? So I will take an architect and will give them to help them. They lack of training, I will find people who can train them on specific things. And so I'm that point they can come to me with any problem. And I will find resource inside Salesforce how to help them.
Okay. So there's a bit of client management, almost account management, in that client's the account almost. And are you at a desk generally during your working day, or are you out and about?
Yes. This is where I spend my days. I do go visit people sometimes, not so often nowadays because with United Nations, as they're global, it would be a few trips a year. Could be Copenhagen, could be Rome, could be New York, depends on where the need is. But majority of things are done online from the desk.
And I mean, obviously you've got 2 kids now. So in terms of work-life balance, How does that all work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it can work very well and it can be very bad. It really depends on how organized you are, because account management, it has a lot of pressures, right? So I do have a yearly target of how much money I need to deliver to the company. But as well, I do have my customers who have also projects running and different things happening. And so I need to be available to them as well for helping them, but I need to find new businesses. So there is a lot to balance, right?
Yeah.
And you really need to be very organized with your time, because with my type of job, you are never off. Even if you are on a holiday, you still take your work phone with you. Because if something happens, you don't want that something, because you are off for a few days, to damage the relationship you've been building for 3 years. Right? The customers, it's all great when everything goes well. But when they really need you, to show and shine, is when things go wrong.
And that's when a product stops working, or
it could be different things. It could be product stops working. It could be something. They have an urgent requirement and they need more, right? So you need to pass additional order forms. So it could be different things, and typically they're not like life and death, right? But it's always a good touch to be there available for a customer. So when I go on holiday, I don't work, right? So it's not like I'm there. No, I enjoy my holiday, but every evening I would check my work phone and see if anything urgent has come in. I obviously do have my out of office, and there is like my manager's details and all of that. But still, if something urgent has come in, and even if someone else has picked it up, I would still message to my customer and say, hey, like, you can see, I don't know, Alex or John is working on it. They will take a good care of you. I will make sure, blah, blah, blah. And I go back to my day. But at that level, when you are doing a global account management with a major customer, they expect a certain level of service.
Yeah, for sure. But generally, like in the evenings, you're done.
In the evenings, I'm done. Yes, unless it's end of the quarter or end of the year, and we have pending orders, I'm done. Yeah. So I would say,
clear.
Yeah, there are periods when you would need to do more, but as well because you are compensated on it, because every sales role has a base package and a commission package, right? So every time you pass an order, every time a customer takes something new, you get money for it. So you are very motivated. If my customer comes at 5:00 on Friday evening and says, hey, I want to buy £1 million of software, trust me, I will cancel my dinner plans. Yeah, I will cancel my dinner plans.
I'll deal with that on Monday. You're like, okay. Yeah, no, that's very true. So, and in terms of where you want to go next with your career, have you got thoughts on that?
To be honest, I'm very happy the role I'm doing. I think I will stick to it for quite a few years. Potentially, maybe when I'm, I don't know, 45, 50, in a few years' time, maybe I will want to go to management. Who knows?
Okay, yeah.
But today, I'm quite happy. So I'm an individual contributor. Also, the account manager is an individual contributor. So we contribute to the sales target, which needs to be delivered by the region, by the team. As an individual contributor, I am in control of my diary. I choose when I speak to my customers. Unless we participate in RFP and there is a prescribed time but generally, right? So I control my diary. I control when and what and how I do. So there is a lot of freedom in a job. It's almost like an artist job, just a job about communication, right? You need to speak to people a lot to do your job. But when I speak to people, how I speak to people, how many times I speak to people, and all of those things is in my control. So it really is, I don't know, something I aspired for.
Yeah.
And I really love it because as you mentioned, having a family with kids, sometimes you can start a bit later, or say I have customers in US, in New York. So some days I could start later, but then finish later because I will take American calls on that day. And no one is kind of, controlling your 9 to 5. Are you there? Are you not there? It's all about the result. In sales, they don't care how you do it, as long as the money is in the bank.
Yeah. Well, that's great to have that autonomy and that freedom. Well, especially as you said that it was the fact that engineering felt so constrained that you now have something that feels a lot freer by the sounds of it. Okay, so having gone over all of that, what advice would you maybe give somebody who perhaps feels like you did in engineering, knows they want to change, but they don't know what they want to do? What advice would you give them based on your own experience?
I would say definitely try different things in terms of like when you go to the clothes shop and you take all weird outfits to the cubicle and you try them on and just start with speaking with people from your company or from your acquaintances or friends or family. What do they do in their career? How does it look like? Is it something like, I don't know, just day in life of Alice, day in life of Ludi? Because it's very difficult to know what something entails unless you really do it. But when I did my kind of trying on different outfits in my engineering company in Dubai, I didn't like any of those outfits. Right? So it didn't fit. So it was different things. I wouldn't need, say, to do calculations or something else, but whatever those people were doing, I didn't feel excited at all. And when Mohammed told me, well, go and sell software, I suddenly felt excited that, maybe, I can go and do that, even though I had no idea how difficult it is. I would say definitely try to speak to as many people as you can to understand what is available in your current situation, because many people will find that just changing maybe from, in my case, that was that being an engineer to maybe being a project manager will tick the box, right? You don't need to do the calculations anymore. You are just in control of the team who does the calculations, and you tell other people what to do, and you manage the timeline and you communicate it with the customer. And so kind of it's a different job. It's still engineering, right? But because I think the skills people have are very valuable. And my example probably shows it, that I managed to capitalize on my engineering skills to change career. But not everyone maybe wants to go into sales and speak to people every day and try to solve their problems and then have this pressure of delivering to target. There are a lot of other roles where the skills could be beneficial, transferable. The knowledge can actually...
Definitely. Well, I think it's, like we touched on earlier, it sounds like you stayed in the same industry to start with, but changed your skill set. And sometimes you can do it the other way around. So you take your current skill set, but you change industry, or you change both at the same time. And it sounds like over time you've changed both, because the industries, the verticals have now changed, and you've moved away from that engineering space. So yes, it's a beautiful example of how people can kind of sidestep into something very different. Amazing.
20 years though.
And it takes time. So that what, 20 years from
when I around 20 years when I went to university, more than 20 now, to study engineering. Actually, when I, completely exited the engineering part, it took me just over 20 years.
Yeah. It takes time. But the major change in itself doesn't sound like that took too long. And how did you, so with that 60% drop in salary, did you kind of prepare for that then in advance, or just made it work?
We did have some savings, and as I say, my partner was working as well, but we just adjusted. We had no car for year one, just rented an apartment, which was, well, to be honest, I didn't have much choice of a price, because I took the first thing which was available, because the apartments at that time were going like very quickly. So I think I took it even without seeing it. But yeah, we didn't go for a house, for instance, because it would be more expensive and the money was not there. Right? We couldn't afford a private school for a child anymore on £2,000 a month. And so we adjusted.
Sacrifices and compromises. And how long did it take for you to then get to a place where you felt comfortable financially?
I think, to be honest, I had it somewhere written down. I did this analysis a few years back. I think I went back to the same level as I was in Dubai in 3 years, and I think I doubled what I was earning in Dubai in 6 years.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And I think then I tripled or quadrupled it as I went. Now, like if I were to compare myself to the guys who stayed in engineering career, I earn significantly more than.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, yeah, short-term pain for long-term gain.
Definitely.
Sounds great. Well, we'll leave it there on that cheesy.
Yeah, but I would add one thing, Alice. For me, it was not about money, right? When I was making the change, and the reason because I was happy to take a pay cut, because it was not about money. I really wanted to do something else, and I think it just happened such that whatever I chose made me happy, and it fitted so well with my personality. So I was able to achieve in it as well, and kind of go higher and do better.
Yeah.
So I think happiness at work was the first major goal, and just money just came along as a side product of me being happy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, they say that, don't they? That if you're doing something that suits you and you enjoy, money does then.
You do better.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Thank you so much. It's been so nice to hear about all of that. Obviously, on the tennis court, I don't get to know much of
Yeah, we are too far apart.
Yeah, exactly. Too much winning, too much celebrating, obviously. But no, really interesting to hear about, that whole experience and that journey. And it must feel amazing to have come so far, really, and arrived where you currently are.
It does.
Is there anything else you had wanted to say or share that we haven't touched on?
No, I would just say be brave. Whoever wants to change a career, be brave. Because by the end of the day, you can always go back to what you were doing before.
Yeah.
Maybe you lose a year, but you can always go back.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, that's not very long, is it? Amazing. Well, all the best, and hopefully see you back in the tennis court sometime soon.
Thank you.
But yeah, thanks again. And and if people do want to reach out to Ludi, she said she's very, very happy for you to contact her on LinkedIn. You can get the spelling of her name on the episode summary. So that's super helpful. All right. Well, take care and speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.